I know, this looks like something straight out of a sci-fi movie, doesn't it? But what you're seeing is the very real blueprint for humanity's next chapter. We are talking about building an entire city on Mars. And this isn't just some fantasy. It's a massive project being spearheaded by SpaceX, with NASA as a key partner. It's a plan that's already in motion.
And let's be really clear about the scale here. We're not talking about some tiny little research outpost. The goal is a fully self-sustaining city for 1 million people by the year 2050. A city that can operate completely on its own without any help from Earth. I mean, the sheer ambition of that is almost hard to wrap your head around.
But we have to remember where this incredible city is supposed to be built. We're talking about Mars, a planet with pretty much no oxygen, no liquid water, and an average temperature that hovers around -100 degrees Celsius. It is, for all intents and purposes, a vast, frozen, red desert.
So that brings us to the most obvious question of all, right? We have a perfectly good planet right here. Why on earth would humanity pour so much time, money, and effort into settling a place that is so incredibly hostile to life?
Well, the answer, and it's a bit unsettling, lies right here at home. You see, decades and decades of research into our own planet's health have started to paint a pretty troubling picture. A picture that suggests Earth might not be a permanent home for humanity after all.
Here's the core of it. Ever since the Industrial Revolution, our dependence on fossil fuels has kicked off a dangerous chain reaction. Global temperatures are climbing, which is causing glaciers to melt way faster than they should. That, in turn, is leading to more floods and cyclones, and they're becoming more and more intense. And on top of all that, pollution is literally eating away at our ozone layer, the planet's natural shield against the sun's most harmful radiation.
And look, this isn't just a hunch. We can measure it. As this chart shows, Earth's average temperature is going up by 0.16 degrees Celsius every single decade. Now that might not sound like a lot, but you stretch that out over a century or two, and it's more than enough to make huge parts of our planet completely unlivable. That's the deadline we're racing against.
Okay, so with this very real possibility that Earth might not be our forever home, the search for a Plan B, a second home, has become a really serious scientific mission. So, out of all the places in our solar system, why Mars?
Well, we've really got two neighbors to choose from, Venus and Mars. Now, Venus is a lot closer, which it sounds great at first, but the planet is a total nightmare. It's a runaway greenhouse effect that's turned the surface into a furnace hot enough to melt lead. So, Venus is out. Mars, on the other hand, is farther away, and yeah, it's colder than the Arctic, but here's the key difference. While it's incredibly challenging, it's not an impossible problem to solve. It has potential.
Okay, I know what you're thinking. Potential is doing a whole lot of work in that sentence. The absolute fundamentals for life as we know it, air to breathe, water to drink, temperatures you won't instantly freeze in, they're just not there. So how in the world do you even begin to fix a problem like that? You solve it with a plan, a really detailed, multi-phase blueprint that's designed to tackle every single one of these life-threatening challenges, one by one. It's literally a guide to building a new world from the ground up.
And the timeline for this is, well, it's aggressive, to say the least. The plan kicks off with robotic pioneers as early as 2026 to do all the heavy lifting and groundwork. The first humans would follow just a few months later. And then, in this sort of carefully timed orbital dance, when Earth and Mars are closest, more ships will arrive every 2 years, steadily growing the population to hit that 1 million person goal by 2050.
Now, this is the really clever part. We don't send people first. We send the robots. Autonomous, solar-powered AI robots. Their first job is basically to be surveyors, scanning the ground to find the perfect type of Martian soil for construction. Once they find it, they'll dig up the area and use that exact same soil as the raw material for huge 3D printers, which will build the first protective shelters. And all of this happens before a single human ever sets foot on the planet.
Only after all that robotic prep work is finished does the first human crew finally arrive. They'll land with about 2 years' worth of supplies. Once they're inside that big 3D printed shelter, they'll set up these inflatable, pressurized habitats, sort of like buildings inside of a building. The robots will then help them set up a big solar farm for electricity, and then the most critical mission begins, learning to survive using only what Mars can provide.
And this is where the ingenuity just gets brilliant. For food, research shows that things like potatoes and beans could actually grow pretty well in a Martian greenhouse. For water, well, our rovers have already confirmed there are huge reserves of frozen water just under the surface, ready to be melted. And for oxygen, they've got a two-pronged attack. The greenhouse will produce some, sure, but the real workhorse is going to be a special device that can literally crack open the carbon dioxide in Mars's atmosphere to release breathable oxygen.
So that's how we survive. But what about thriving? Is the future of humanity on Mars just going to be living inside pressurized bubbles and greenhouses forever? Oh no, the long-term vision is way, way bigger than that.
The ultimate problem is pretty simple. Mars isn't Earth. You can't just take a stroll outside. So the ultimate solution, as absolutely wild as it sounds, is to make Mars more like Earth. There's a scientific term for this. It's called terraforming, basically engineering an entire planet so that we can live on it.
So how on earth would you even begin to do that? Well, one radical idea from an MIT student named Margarita Marinova is kind of ironic, actually. The plan? Use robots to build gigantic factories on Mars, whose only job is to pump out greenhouse gases to intentionally trigger the exact same global warming effect that's threatening Earth, but this time, use it to warm Mars up. But Elon Musk has suggested something even more dramatic, and yeah, way more controversial. His idea? Detonate thousands of nuclear weapons high above the Martian poles. The theory is that the incredible heat would instantly vaporize the frozen carbon dioxide ice caps, releasing it all into the atmosphere, making it thicker and rapidly kickstarting that warming process. It's a shocking idea for sure, but it's part of a serious conversation that's happening right now.
And that just leaves us with this fascinating, huge question. The entire reason for doing this, for trying to become a multiplanetary species, is because of the damage we've done to our own home. So could we really begin our new chapter on another world by intentionally scarring it with factories or, even crazier, nuclear fire? It's a question we're all going to have to answer as this incredible plan starts to move from a blueprint into reality.